me see. I can't think of my good song. It's a good song. Let me say, since, baby, since we've been together, oh, loving you forever is what I need. 'Cause you make me feel so brand new. I love you, baby. Now I want to spend my whole life with you. Hello, ladies. Jasmine, Frazier, Teresa Hopkins, moderator Nikki. How y'all? No, your uncle won't be hollering and screaming today. I have a calm spirit on this morning, but I think there's some questions that can be answered, or at least my opinion of these things. First, we got to take out the trash. So I see that I see that the low bottom gay is over there running his mouth again. I could play the little bit from him, but I think that might give him views. I don't think I want to give him any more views. But he's over there and he's got a whole lot of opinions about me. He's got a whole lot of opinions about my life, how I live my life. Because, you know, this person lives in a kind of an expanded kind of reality where he makes up his own reality. He thinks he's some kind of diva that makes all this money and all this kind of stuff. He's over there saying to me that I am a drug addict. I'm a crackhead. I'm a meth monster forever, for the rest of my life. See, this is. I don't even want to address that fool. He's not worth talking about, really. But people, a lot of times people, they buy what's given to them. Some people who are not Christian people, they'll say that this is the slave man's religion, right? They'll say, oh, they took the slave man's religion. I mean, they took the master's religion, right? And then the white people told them that religion and they believed it. They're fools. They're idiots, right? This is one of the narratives. It's always been, particularly with people from different kind of religions. So a lot of people have taken this idea. My name is Tim, and I'm an alcoholic and an addict. I'm not saying that doesn't work for a whole lot of people. It works for a whole lot of people. My opinion is this. I am delivered from drugs. So my opinion is this, honey. I can't be a drug addict if I don't do drugs. I can't be an alcoholic if I don't do alcohol. I can't be a thief if I don't steal anything. You see, you've bought into this idea that for the rest of your life, whatever you did, that's who you are. It's bullshit. And I am living proof that it is bullshit, at least in my case. I don't go to 12-step meetings. They got some great spiritual principles in there. You know what? When I was in the pen, on one of the times I was in the pen, I went through that book, AA book, Bible right next to each other. Every one of the spiritual principles that are written in the AA 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous are also spiritual principles that were alive and being used in the Bible. They're just spiritual principles to live by, honey. One of them is to write. Write your fourth step. Is it your fourth step or fifth step? It's been a long time since I've been there. And basically it's telling you, tell all your sins. This is not for publication. This is just for you for yourself. Write it all down. Then we're going to read it to your sponsor. Then we're going to burn it. So they have their rituals. But you can't, how are you going to take someone else's rituals and then make them like that's the Bible? Bill Wilson, the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, he found a way out. You know who originally contacted him? It was the Catholics. So a lot of his spiritual awakening had nothing to do with what he wrote in the book. He tried to break down his experience, and it's done wonders. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, no doubt millions of people around the world, have adhered to the 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous as worked for them, right? But I don't have to take your religion. I do not have to take your religion, honey. I say I am delivered. I no longer do drugs. Drugs is something that I did. It's not who I am. Stop letting these people define who you are. I was a battered woman, so therefore I'm a battered woman for life. No, that's something that happened. And in that case, it's something that happened to you. So We're gonna ignore that cute that what's that boy's name? He don't even have a fucking name. ZT Monster. We're gonna ignore her. Right? She's trying to beat me and let me say some things about her. But you ain't never been on my level. You have never been on my level, honey. So even if I was putting a shopping cart full of cans, you would still not be on my level. So when I stop pushing the shopping cart full of cans, I go back to being Timothy Blaine. And you are still ZT. Bitch, you could go to Harvard and you're still stuck with you. You have so much to say about drug addict. Nigga, you a drug addict. We haven't seen you out there with the crackheads selling dick to you. Aren't you the ones to be out there buying them phones, buying them watches, taking them to the ATM, which has no money on the night we looked in? Probably because you're paying for your drugs and you're paying for your boys. You're in your 20s and you're paying for your trade. I don't think you have anything to say to me, boy. I've got off track. Hi, darlings. Hi, princess. Safira. All of you guys are women. You know how many men? I wonder how they could take surveys and say exactly how many men are in this sector. I don't think it's not that many of us. Most of us are content creators, gay men. There are a few straight men, but most of these are all ladies. So some of you ladies understand some of the things that boy thought he was unveiling about the abuse of my mother. Here's the thing about writing memoir. When you write your story, your book, celebrities do it. Theirs has value that they can go out and they can sell 1 million books in a week or whatever. But basically, even when you take the money factor out of it, when you write your story, you see, children, they don't have a voice. People don't take children seriously, right? So you're not really expressing your pain. You're not really sitting down with adults and explaining your pain or what you went through, right? Here's your chance. I'm going to tell my real story. I'm going to put my life on paper. They say cathartic is the word. Let me ask this lady. Oh, shit, I ain't got it loaded. Oh, I took it off because she kept interfering with my life. Oh, okay. God damn. Oh, okay. So I bought a new Kindle yesterday. See? And when I loaded the Kindle, it's changed now all my settings. So now I've got Alexa. Alexa! And I asked her questions. What's it talking about? Oh, about writing memoir. Children don't have a voice. So if you were an abused child, or you felt like you were an abused child, or you felt like you were struggling with your sexual identity, even as a small baby, nobody knew that. Nobody knew it, honey. You suffer with it for your entire life. And many times it's left scars on your life, right? But when you write it down, you give that child, the child part of you, you give her or him a voice. This is how I felt. This is what I went through. This is how I was affected by the things that went on in my family. So I'm sitting here. I'm not going to make up no bullshit to make it sound good. I'm going to tell you the real story, because if only one time in my life, the real truth, the real story, the real who I am is going to come out, right? So when I decided to do a memoir, yes, it was a lot about drugs and all that. I named the book after drugs and all that, but it's really it's the whole lifespan, right? So I started off with the kind of the child. These things these people are trying to use against me now. They're actually trying to say there's something wrong because my mother got beat by her husband. Women, you have experience with this. If you haven't personally, your girlfriends have, your aunties have, your mothers have. You understand what I'm saying, right? Well, my brain is I'm really struggling to stay on topic here. Okay, I think I want to say something. Okay. They're trying to use against me that my mother had an abusive husband who she successfully escaped and went on about her life. But they think that that's something horrible about her because somebody put their hands on her. Does that make sense? That's what pissed me off yesterday. Particularly coming from these kind of people. These people who I know their lives are clothed in drama. But I'm trying to keep it light. I'm just talking about why you write your memoir. Right? My instance, at 19 years old, I left home. So I never got judgment from any of my family members. We had 100 people in my family in Indiana. I never got judged by them because from the moment my mother figured this thing out, I was gone the next day. So there was never any discussion. So basically, these people don't know anything about me, but I felt the judgment in that one day, right? And I decided not to stick around for it. But when I wrote this book, people could say, oh, I remember that. Oh my God, we didn't think the kids knew. We didn't think the kids knew about that. Oh, that's what happened. Well, we always wonder what happened to you. So see, when you're free, tell your whole story, your real story, what really happened. Don't dress it up for your auntie or dress it up for your cousin, dress it up for your grandma. Tell the truth. That's what a memoir is. There's a need in us to tell the truth, to be understood, to be heard, right? So these things that they say, particularly, I do feel like people should respect people's parents. I just don't get that part. So that's what we had all our fights about in school, right? It's always about your mama. All through life, it's all about your mama. Even right now, as a grown man or woman, somebody says something about your mama standing in front of you, they're liable to get the shit slapped out of them. It's natural. See, when I started writing, there was no YouTube. I had no idea that monsters would come over here and try to use my writing against me. I didn't give a shit, and I still don't give a shit. If I wrote right now, it would be because I would be writing the truth. It ain't just because of how many books you sell. It's because it's for you. It's for you. It's your voice. Right? So there are many other reasons people do memoirs. Not only for that reason, but by the time my family, and I said it's 100 people even then, I'm sure it's 120 by now, but they actually knew me then. See, they didn't know me. They knew we go to family reunion. You know, we say little jokey things, but them people didn't know me. My mama was in denial, so she didn't know about I was struggling with my sexuality and all that kind of stuff. But now they knew. They know. I know Timothy. I know what motivates him to do the things that he did. I know how he got caught up. Because sometimes you look at people on the street and you say, what the fuck happened to that dude? I try to explain what happened, how it happens, right? I try to explain that at one point I was drinking too much. I was in the bar every single night. I was drinking. I was having a good time. I was in my early 20s, whatever. But I couldn't stay awake. I kept getting drunk. And getting drunk was a mess because then I was just sitting in the corner drinking. So somebody introduced me to crystal methamphetamine. And that became a primary thing in my life. Why? Because it worked. Solved my problem. So I think that expresses to people how easily this could happen, right? These people on here trying to judge somebody. Can you imagine ZT judging somebody? Girl, like I said, street urgent. So easily. Someone could introduce you to a drug. One time. You could take that drug one time and it could rock your motherfucking world. That's what I was trying to express. This is what happens. Honey, I could have easily left out all the ZT over talking about, oh, you dug through trash. Oh, you was a dumpster diver. Oh, you did all this. Yeah, because I was a drug addict. That's what drug addicts do, nigga. That's what they do. Why are you pretending they ain't what they do? You can never. But that boy is crazy. Let me stay off him. What was I just saying? How easily it could happen, right? When HIV came along, you know, I was still clean and sober when HIV came. I mean, I was still, when HIV came along, I had left drinking alcohol in the bars and I had joined AA. So there was a period of 3 years when I was in AA in my 20s, right? HIV came along. What was my reaction to HIV? People were getting sick all over the damn place. They were getting sick and they were getting very sick very soon. Now I hardly even had sex with people at that point. I had broken up with my lover. I was in AA. I wasn't having sex with anybody. So you would think that I could have navigated that thing, right? But no, that's the exact time that I started doing drugs. Was it a reaction to the pandemic of HIV? That is the question. Because I started doing meth at the same time that HIV became prevalent. And then I started shooting up meth. Why? They make fun of the needles. Why are you shooting up? Why are you shooting up? It's progressive, nigga. See, these people, they 20 and 30 years younger than me, right? So by the time this boy, both of them are about 40 years old, what's that boy named? QB is about 40 years old, right? I was already finished. I got cleaned at 42, right? I was already done with it all, honey. He's still in it. But I'm just telling you, why do people write memoirs? Now I'll tell you, people think, oh, you bragging because you clean sober. Oh, you are 18 years. 18 years without these prescribed programs. It's deliverance. It's an important message for people to get, honey. It is an important message for all young Christians or people who contemplate being a Christian. They talk all about what's in the book, what's in the book. I'm telling you, there is power in this book. This is how I got clean. Because people, when I was in prison, were coming in, former drug addicts, and talking about their experience and how they got out. That's why you go to jail, they got a Bible in every cell. Because they didn't understand that this is really the only hope you got, boy. Anyway, like I said, even my own grandmother knew nothing about me. All she knew, I was 19 years old and I left. I never come out the closet when I was there. So she understood. She said, oh, this is what happened. Oh, we didn't understand. I'm sorry for what I said, because it's casual things, not meaning any harm. But the point is, now you really know me. All the people here who have written my book, it's a different kind of knowing. But it is a knowing. It's a knowing to know how I came to believe the things that I believe, what I came into. Celebrities, there's always an urge in them to tell their story. All these politicians, everybody wants to tell their story. And when you buy these politicians' book, you think this is about when Trump did this and Trump did that. No, a lot of it is about their story. They crowded it in the front, right? Because there's a cathartic value in telling your truth, your story. I want to be heard. I want to be seen for who I really am, right? Anyway, I ain't said hello. We'll get back in a minute. Hey there, people. Don't you like it when your uncle's nice and calm and then calling people out of their names and things? Ain't it sweet and good? We're not what we used to be. Exactly, Cheryl Moore. We are not. Don't let people call you a drug addict. That's one of the reasons I left 12-step. You have to go in there and you have to go in there and you have to continually tell yourself that you are a drug addict. This is a one method of sobriety, right? I said, I don't believe that. The only time I think about drugs is when I come in here. The only time I think about drugs is when I'm in a 12-step meeting. As a matter of fact, the way I heard about crystal meth was in 12-step meetings. I don't want to talk about drugs all the time. I want to accept God has delivered me. That is my testimony. All the glory will go to him forever. It ain't going to no books. It ain't going to no therapists. The glory goes to my God. And people need to know that, honey. People need to know that no matter what you do, what you've been, your life doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to end that way. That ugly Z monster, she already talking about, oh, you dig in a dumpster. You dig it. How shallow and stupid. Girl, if anybody should be digging in the dumpster, it should be you. Anyway. So I could have left those things out easily. I could have went on about my love life. I didn't talk that much about it, a couple of pages. But I could have expanded that and left all the other shit out. But see, it wouldn't be real. It wouldn't mean anything. Tell your damn truth, honey. Put it down. Don't give a fuck who reads it. Anybody can go and get it. I think it's $4.99. Can download it for $4.99. I just try to read some because I don't even have any here no more. Every time I get some, they end up disappearing. Why? Because people want the book. They like the story. Right? So I don't worry about their judgment. I can say to you, I am not the person who I was 20 years ago. It's just something I did. Letting these people hang all these damn labels on you does not benefit you in any way. Because then they always have something on you. You're a drug addict. No, bitch, I'm not a drug addict because I don't do drugs. How can I be a drug addict? It's something I did 20 years ago. I've done a lot of shit 20, 30, 40 years ago. I used to make my living as a booster, stealing shit. I ain't ashamed of that. That's what happens when you drop out of high school. You drop out. You want to party. What happens? Anyway, I'm being Debbie Downer today. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but y'all hear the people in the church talking about how they're delivered, honey? Believe it. Spirituality, the spiritual force, connecting, believing. I am delivered. Why am I saying that? Why do I keep saying that? It's a frame of mind, honey. No, I don't have to contemplate doing drugs. When that boy QB last night, he was reading, I think it's chapter 7, 8. I think he's on almost the last chapter. But what I want to do is I want to read the last chapter myself. I want to hear the last chapter read out without spin. No spin. No saying this trash ass book. Oh, you did drugs. Oh, most dysfunctional people on the planet. So I want to tell you the last chapter myself. He can have the trash chapters. They were intended to ensnare people like him. Okay, I hope you guys don't mind. Let me make sure I'm on the same page with you guys. My reading isn't all that fabulous, but I got a new Kindle. I want to use it. There's a lesson in all this stuff, right? And I encourage all people to write their memoir. It's very cathartic. It helps you immensely to understand who you are and how you got to be who you are. Anyway. Okay, this is chapter 9. That Q monster, she did all the way up to chapter 8, but you kind of picked through it and trashed it, trash talk all the way through it, whatever. But I want to give you an unfiltered reading of this chapter. Okay, all right, people, we ready? Now you know your uncle's dyslexic, so don't be too harsh on him. Deliverance. What a sweet sound this word was to my ears. The implication was that by the power of God, a person like me could be set free from whatever held them captive. It seems like every time someone used that word in church, prison church, I'd be on my feet. In the prison chapel, there were ministers and ministries coming in from all over the state of California. But it was when somebody got up in that pulpit talking about how God had delivered them from X, Y, and Z that my very soul would cry out, hallelujah. This was what I wanted most from the Lord. More than anything else in the world, I wanted to be free. Being free is not the same thing as being in remission. Being in remission means spending every day in fear of relapse. This is what they're talking about. You're always a drug addict kind of thing. It means raising my hand, as is the custom in 12-step groups, every day of my life to proclaim that to proclaim to a group and to myself that I am an incurable alcoholic and a drug addict, which for me only reaffirms the curses of the devil over me. As long as I parroted and magnified his power over me, he would continue to use that power to destroy me. I had danced this particular dance with the enemy of my soul enough times by now to know that at least in my case, he always won. It was time to rebuke the evil one and give praise and honor to the Holy One who gives life. So yes, with every fiber of my being, I wanted to be delivered from the clutches of this monster that had held me captive for over 16 years. The Bible said that the Lord will give me the desires of my heart. I don't see how it would be possible for a human being to want anything more. I know that some people would argue that deliverance does not come in an instant, that this whole 2-year process was my deliverance. Others might say that deliverance is tied to the level of surrender or the force with which a person hits bottom. I will concede that this could be a decent argument for those who like to argue. Fortunately, I don't count myself among those numbers, at least not when it comes to the workings and movements of the living God. For me, God remains a wondrous and mysterious supernatural source of life and intelligent power. Knowing and accepting that God has delivered me from a lifetime of drug addiction and profound self-loathing is one thing. Trying to explain How and exactly when he did it is quite something else. Still, if pushed for an answer, I'd have to say that I received my deliverance from crystal meth on June 25th, 2002. Oh, good. I was wondering about that date. Okay, I got to write it down. At around 2:30 in the afternoon. I can be so certain of the date and approximate time only because I'm holding in my hand the 2 sheets of paper that I happen to be writing on that day. The paper starts out by talking about what a bad time I had had in a group therapy session that day. In fact, I titled the first page, How I'm Feeling Right Now. This quickly turned into a reflection of how I had felt on the day of my blow up and subsequent relapse at Walden. Walden was a drug program. Several months earlier. As I began writing about the events that occurred immediately after pulling the syringe from my arm, my writing deteriorated into a childlike scribble. What was left for the record was something like, help, panic, crying, with no praying, Jesus, please help me, over and over. I'm so sick. Oh God. Please help me, so sick. Sex. I have to stop, relax, change subject. These are just from the notes I was taking in prison about a particular day. If a guard or trustee happened to pass by my cell at that particular moment, they certainly got quite an eyeful. But if they were there, I was oblivious to their presence. In fact, I seemed to be in some kind of trance, momentarily catapulted back to the impromptu sex orgy which had been thrown together within an hour after I stepped out of Walden House that very last time. It had all started as a game. I got the water up, people. Y'all still with me? Okay. This is from chapter 9, only one chapter I'm reading. As I tried to recall exactly when sex had gone from being simply something that felt good to something that in my emotional scribble was best described as sick, I found I had to go a long way back to the time that I first started using meth. I remembered a bizarre incident that happened outside of an after-hours club in Hollywood some 15 years earlier. At the club that I frequented most often, it was the fashion to wear some article of black leather on the dance floor. Some guys wore just a little and others wore way too much, but virtually everybody wore something. At the time, I thought of black leather as nothing more than erotic dance floor getup. People wore whips and paddles and tied to their belt hoops, handcuffs and regulation police holders, chaps, leather pants with the front and back panels missing, and on and on. There was even the occasional hooded man. I knew that there were sadomasochistic implications behind all this costuming, but for me, it was simply an issue of fashion and fitting in. This was like a leather disco kind of thing. So everybody wore the same kind of stuff. Early one morning, when I wandered outside of the club, which was open from Friday night straight through till Sunday afternoon for cigarettes or coffee or something, I ran into an old acquaintance. When he saw the leather dog collar around my neck, his face turned as white as a ghost. What are you doing with that thing around your neck, man? Take it off, he demanded. Before it's too late. It's not a game, man. What you're doing is dangerous and evil. What a loser, I remember thinking. If there was one thing that I hated more than somebody who couldn't handle their drugs, it was some dude trying to bring down my high. Now it would appear that I had come full circle. If approached by that same man on the day of this writing and subsequent breakthrough, I would have had absolutely no problem understanding exactly what he was trying to say to me. Yes, it had all started as a game. Then, in the bleak times that followed my clubbing years, sex of any kind had not been a major issue. Frankly, I was far too busy chasing the next hit, trying to stay out of the rain, and perhaps keeping a little food on my stomach to worry about such a thing as mundane as sex. But after arriving in San Francisco, when I began dealing in earnest, and the emphasis was no longer on the basics. Things changed dramatically. I went from being a person who rarely had physical contact with anyone to a person whose very existence revolved around his sex life. After a while, I had no unfulfilled sexual fantasies. Every time I thought of something new, I simply went out and did it. What I was to discover about pursuing fantasy and sexual make-believe was that there was a definite progression or regression, depending on how you look at it. When these fantasies were fueled by drugs, I ended up stuck for many years. What I ended up stuck in for many years was a very dark place. At this point, I think it's senseless to dwell on or make much of this drug-induced foolishness. This was only another trick of the enemy. As long as I felt like there was some mysterious dark state of ecstasy that could only be accessed by the use of crystal meth, you guessed it, I would always return to it. There was never any state of ecstasy, only a dark place in my human soul. Like everything else about meth, it was only another illusion, an illusion that I pursued almost until death. Say or think what you will about deliverance. I only know that after I got this particular revelation, I never returned to drugs. And so when I paroled from prison for the very last time in October of 2002, I left there a free man, and I'm still free. That's key. Oh, yes, because I had no reason to believe that. I had been to jail over and over and over and over and over, in prison over and over. Something changed inside. Okay. I left there a free man. Oh, yes. I still had 2 more years to do on parole, but I had never felt so free in my life. There was something deep within me that told me I would never use drugs again, and it's proven to be true. Walden House remained unfinished business. And when I left Vacaville was a prison, I went right back to the house that I had abandoned a year earlier. There was still much that I could gain by returning to program, not the least of which was safe and cheap housing. Maybe in most places, housing would not be a major issue, but San Francisco was and is one of the most expensive cities to live in the United States. Being that I was on parole, I couldn't legally leave the Bay Area even if I wanted to. That's not to say that I didn't benefit greatly by the clinical help, support, and resources that I received at Walden. That program was figuratively the bridge that I used to cross over from my old life into the real world. That was my grandmother's favorite passage. About 3 months into my commitment to the program, I lost my temper again. Only this time, those people at Walden, staff and clients, surrounded me and held on to me. This time I finished the program. And for the first time since grade school, I, Timothy Blaine, actually graduated from something. Maybe to some people, graduating from a drug program would represent no major accomplishment. But to me, it was monumental. And it was only the beginning. The voice had said never when it spoke to me in Vacaville. It said that I would never do drugs again. Now here, in the year 2002, out in the real world, dare I trust him? Dare I be unafraid of relapse? Was it possible that God or Jesus or the Holy Spirit had actually called this unclean thing out of me forever? There was then, and without a doubt, there will always be much that I don't understand about the spiritual realm or about God, about how God does all that he does. But my testimony is that he does do this particular thing, and he does it in such a way that is superior to any other way that I have ever come across. So yes, I made a conscious decision to change my language on the subject of my former drug addiction. Since God said, I am delivered, I am delivered. I declare it, and I receive it by faith. In this instance, I'm not only talking about faith in God and his power to keep me, I'm also talking about faith in the fact that I heard his voice in the first place. How does one go about talking about... Calm down, Blaine. Y'all with me? Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Thank you, behind the throne. How does one go about explaining an inaudible voice that you hear without the use of your ears? For this answer, I had to go back to the Gospels. Jesus said that after he left this world, the Father would send us a helper. This one would be called the Holy Spirit. The question was, could I accept this teaching as reality and move on by faith? My answer to the Lord was then and is now, yes. By saying yes to God, it means saying, yes, I receive as fact that there was and is a Jesus Christ who is alive and sitting at the right hand of God. It means receiving as fact that he died on the cross roughly 2,000 years ago as a one-time sacrifice for the sin of this world. It means accepting that still small voice that I had been referring to for a full 2 years at this point was in fact real, and it had a name. More than likely, this was the voice of God's Holy Spirit, whom the Bible calls our helper. It also means receiving as fact that our merciful God has declared you and me perfect in his sight, not because of all the self-serving foolishness that we call righteousness, but because God is good and he's given us the ultimate gift. You and I are blessed beyond reason. We can actually have the righteousness of Jesus Christ in the eyes of our God, and all we have to do is receive it. I invite anyone who might be reading this right now and who is not yet a Christian to cry out yes to God and to receive Jesus Christ as his or her personal Lord and Savior. I did this as a sick and broken man in an isolated and lonely prison cell several years ago, and God heard me. That's how I know he's able to hear you too, no matter where you might be. God wants every one of us to come to him. But from what I understand of what is written, we've got to accept his sacrifice. It's God's plan, and we don't have to totally, completely understand it to know that it must be good. The devil will do anything, anything to stop us from receiving this gift from our Creator. The Bible says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual principalities in high places. I challenge you to push past the enemy and all of his many devices right into the presence of the living God. God has made a way for us to do just that. That way is by faith in Jesus Christ. For my brothers and sisters who happen to be homosexual, I think it not strange when religious folk whom you've never met and know nothing about you claim to despise you or who and what you are. I don't know why we should expect unbending religion to treat us better than it treated God's Christ. Remember, it was religion that conspired to murder him. Somehow, we as human beings still want to cling to something that we can see and touch. The Bible is not God. Only God is God, and he's not dead or living or lying dormant in the pages of a book. When God brought forth the Christ and his plan for the salvation of this world, the religious leaders would not receive him because it meant accepting that God had done something new. They would rather kill him than to accept a new teaching. Religion was then what it is so often now. It will do anything to protect an antiquated belief system. I would encourage you, my brothers and sisters, not to base what you feel about God on anybody's religion. When it came time for me to choose a church home, it was not nearly as difficult as I thought it might be. Actually, it was much more like my church chose me. What I was to discover about a community church was that it was just that, a community having church. Perhaps for the first time in my life, I was able to fully embrace a community of people who looked a lot like me. I never dreamed I'd find this camaraderie in a Christian church. Obviously, I am both African American and gay. I have a lifetime membership in both of those communities, but rarely in my experience did the two overlap. However, I believe that I can honestly say that I didn't choose the place where I would worship based purely on these two significant factors. I chose the place where I would worship God based heavily on how they, as a church, felt about the finished work of Jesus Christ. Everything from this point forward would have to line up with the unbridled worship of Jesus. It was Jesus Christ who brought me out of both a figurative and literal prison, at long last a free man. And it was in him that I would pledge my allegiance for all the rest of my life, all the rest of my time on earth. If the only way I would ever be free to worship God and his Christ without being ostracized or made to feel unclean and unforgiven was to do so surrounded by people who look just like me, then that is how it would have to be. I didn't have time to play mind games of traditional organized religion. There was and is far too much at stake, even though my desire to use drugs never returned, and it still hasn't. Life in the real world was not without its challenges. During the roughly 2 years that I was in and out of Walden House, I managed to make only one close friend. His name was Enrique. Enrique and I were about as close as friends could become in such a relatively short time. In the first year after program, he relapsed on crystal meth. 6 weeks later, he was dead. This time, I had no drugs to numb the pain of watching my friend die. I was forced to just stand there, flat-footed, and deal with life on life's terms. In my third year, I ran into my very best friend from my many years in and out of prison. While Roosevelt's drug of choice was crack cocaine, mine, of course, had been meth, so we didn't run in the same circles on the streets. But both of our paths kept leading back to the same place. Because we were not under the influence of anything, as long as we were locked up, I knew him much better than I knew anyone else in San Francisco. When I ran into him, Roosevelt was still smoking crack, and I was over 3 years clean. So there was no reason for us to be hanging out with each other. But God knew what we didn't know. And a few weeks later, Roosevelt called me from a hospice. He was within 2 months of his death. This time, I was able to be there for my friend in his darkest hour. And I knew that it was only the mighty hand of God that allowed it, let it be so. There would, of course, be many other challenges in the years to come, not the least of which has been a seemingly lightning quick descent into middle age. I had decided as a young man to live life on the edge and to party until I dropped. But now, by the grace of God, the party was most assuredly over, and I hadn't dropped. No matter how I may have felt on the inside, time had most certainly moved on. I found myself trying to build relationships with nieces and nephews that I had never met and were now entering college. There had been, of course, no preparation for what life would be like on this side of 40. And HIV made 45 feel more like 60 at times. So I wrote this book while I was 45. But God was and is with me around every twist and turn in the road. What God had spoken into my spirit in that desolate prison cell several years ago had proven true. That inaudible voice that I was sure I had been hearing for a full 2 years before that had also proven true. As evidenced by my faith and deliverance, as evidenced by the faith and deliverance I walk in today. I am convinced, above all things, God is good, and that he both intricately knows and loves this thing, me, that he has created, that only he has created. The Spirit of the Lord didn't just take off for parts unknown after I got off drugs. After I discovered the power of the living God for myself, I had to turn to him for everything. Sadly, it was in coming to terms with religious persecution that I needed him most. I simply could not understand the hatred. Even when I went into the scriptures myself with what I considered to be an open mind, I found that there was much to be debated. When they were taken in context, such as their authors and to whom they were being written. What I'm coming to understand, even as I write this sentence now, is that I am never going to understand hate. But in fact, there is nothing to understand. In the earth, there is both love and hate, good and evil. They are both opposing entities. God is love. And surely that other thing originates from another place. Humanity is what it is. but that doesn't change who God is or what he in his goodness has done for this, his greatest creation. In truth, the only time I've ever felt like this world was fair, impartial, and unbiased was at the cross. With the blood sacrifice of Jesus Christ, God has done what no man would ever do. He's made us all the same person. We who believe are all one person, the perfect body, the body of the perfect Christ. It's good news, and God didn't restrict it to a people group. After all, what thing that walks or crawls on the earth doesn't belong to God? The event at the cross happened a very long time ago, but it wasn't until I received Jesus Christ as my personal Lord and Savior that I ever experienced any significant or lasting life change. As I look back over the story of my life, I can plainly see a recurring theme. I am a person whose whole life had been ruled by fear. Starting from my very earliest memories, that's why you start at the beginning. Fear has been intricately woven into every chapter of my experience. Fear of my stepfather's violence, fear of my sexuality, fear of being found out, fear of rejection, fear of AIDS, fear of relapse, and on and on. I have spent a lifetime being afraid. It is interesting that when I try to describe my very first time using crystal meth in chapter 5 of this writing, there was only two things that I could recall that it did for me that first day. One, it sobered me up. And two, perhaps for the first time in my life, the fear was gone. I am convinced that illicit mind-altering drugs are a tool of Satan, or whatever you call him, as evidenced by the havoc and chaos they inevitably bring in their wake. The enemy wants control of our minds. I got HIV/AIDS because I succumbed to the tricks of that thing which seeks to destroy me. When I began entrusting in his chemicals for relief and escape, I wasn't even left with enough sense to realize that sticking a needle in my arm right at the pinnacle of perhaps the worst blood-borne epidemic in the history of the world was demonic madness. My testimony is that when Jesus Christ took the fear away, unlike Satan, he didn't replace it with havoc and chaos, nor did I descend into the belly of an earthly hell. That's what the enemy will do for you. But instead, the fruits of the Holy Spirit are love, joy, peace. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. That's 2 Timothy 1:7. To close, as I close, I want to speak directly to those persons who don't yet know the Lord for themselves and are still being held captive by the vices of this world. I want to encourage you, my brothers and sisters, to try Jesus Christ. You and I and everybody who walks this planet have access to the very same power. It is the power of God. And I'm a living witness that God is no respecter of persons. If he were, I doubt that a pleasure-crazed drug dealer like me would have made the cut. Yeah. I hope that wasn't him calling. Last paragraph. God is good, and this thing that he has done for us all is most excellent. Please don't miss it. Give your faith to Jesus Christ and prepare to be amazed. Okay, so that's the last chapter of the Mythmaster. I'm seeing how many people stayed in here. Yeah, y'all still here? So that's why I wrote the book. That's a big part of it. It wasn't the middle part. It wasn't the horrible things I came out of. It was what happened at the end. Coming to faith. That's it. People say, oh, that's too religious. Oh, I don't like religious. Oh, I don't believe in no religious church. That's why I had to go through the whole story, honey, to bring you to how I got to where I got to. Okay? All right. I don't know where I could start with you guys. Oh, y'all hung in there with me. Thank you. Hey, people. Hey, Teresa Hopkins. Who is he? Can't even watch him. Oh, this is DT Monster. She's so pitiful. That thing sitting over trying to judge. Girl, you a drug addict now, nigga. Denial is a huge part of it. So all this one with all this lip, damn near all of them. Do we see them high on most occasions? They're drug addicts. They have to justify being drug addicts. So I wrote it for you people, you drug addicts. Ignorant. That ZT Monster, she done moved down to Houston, Texas. Let us pray for Houston, Texas. Actually, I pray for him. Everyone has a book in them. You're right. You all got a story, honey. You can sit down and do it. I'm so frustrated right now because I can't write. I loved it. I love everything about it. And I wrote lots of fiction as well. So I don't know. Maybe if I become famous or something, I can write the second continuing part of my life. Memoirs is pretty easy. All you got to do is remember what happened, write it down. You know, you and your editor will work it out. But when you're writing fiction is a whole lot harder because you're making it up as you're going along. You're making up people and places and things, right? The memoir, I didn't even put any dialogue in there. I just told what happened. It's best my memory. But when I got delivered this time, though, I was very, very spiritual. So I honor that period. I'm kind of glad that I did read that. That's where I was, and it's to sustain me. So you can go back in the middle and find out what I did when I was a drug addict. Oh, what he did. He jumped in the at ZT Monster. You jumped in the dumpster. I would never talk to a person jumped in the dumpster. Stupid ass boy. Boy, you ain't even finished yet. Which one of them crackheads that you be fucking, which one of them is going to offer you a hit? Or have you already had that hit? My guess, you've already had it. Because you're sexual obsessed. You probably already had more than one hit. I want you to see how easily it could happen. Yeah, I encourage you, write your book, honey. You give it to your family and let it go. And when they get through with it, they'll look at you a whole different way. They didn't came out here and visit me and everything. Now, it's not such a mystery to them who I am. His father, a crackhead, used to slap his mother around. Well, of course, if he's a dope fiend, of course he's going to slap everybody in the house if there's any money in it. When you're on drugs, honey, everything in the house of any value gets sold. Everything. So if your wife got money in her purse and she won't give it to you, of course she's going to be slapped. Same thing with him. I don't know what these people think, try to paint these fantasies that they got this stellar life. Tell the truth, people. There's freedom in it. I'm sorry if I was preaching, Scooter. The first chapter of the book is kind of religious. The first, it's only like 5 pages, something like that. And then the end of the book ends like this. So we go full circle, right? But the whole middle of the book is mostly about being in that life. But I try to bring it out and put it on paper just the way it happened. So people cause no one could ever tell me, oh, just call on Jesus. Just call on Jesus. I would think they were foolish people. I would just move away from them. So I had to walk through the whole process. And I said at the end of that, but when I finished doing it, that I would never do drugs again. God had told me I would never do drugs again. Therefore, I declare that I am delivered. I'm still delivered. That's the mystery, honey. Connie Bernard. I always wondered why recovered addicts identify themselves as drug addicts, alcoholic, if they are no longer that. Right. So it's 2 schools of thought. The church will say delivered. That's the language of the church, right? And many pastors will still encourage you, if you need the support of a 12-step program, then seek it. Because from what we have, the 12-step program is the most successful drug program, let's say. Started by an alcoholic guy, Bill Wilson. But their thing is constantly saying that, reiterating that you are an alcoholic and drug addict. Basically, what they're saying is you can't do drugs. So I can say I'm delivered, but I know I can't do drugs. That's the deliverance. And they can say you're an alcoholic and a drug addict, but you can't do drugs. So it's the same conclusion. I can't get high. If I got a high, if I started some crack right now, I'll be out there on the street again. So we're saying the same thing, but that's the language they choose to use. And they also choose that you have to go there for the rest of your life. You got to go to meetings forever. Only thing I got out of 12-step, because I was in 12-step in my 20s when I first tried to get clean from alcohol. But this time, it wasn't a part of it. I had to learn how to trust God. I had to learn how to accept him, trust him, pray to him. I'm still praying to him. Damn near 20 years later, every day on my knees, honey. You saved my life. Whatever you are, however you are, you have saved my life. I do miss church. I do miss it. I thought I didn't miss it. I was saying the other day, well, we can get along without it. I always got to think about the money part of it. Damn, I'm sweating like a motherfucker. Let's hope that cussing don't keep you out of heaven, or I'm in big trouble. Yeah, Memoirs is on. Most people that watch me on here have probably already read that book. It's kind of old news, but it's just opening yourself up, honey. It's not having secrets. That's your freedom. Your freedom. I'm not hiding anymore. I'm not hiding nothing. You see, I told you for several chapters in there that I was a thief. I made my living as a thief before I started selling drugs. I ain't stolen in years. Since I became a Christian, I ain't stole nothing. It feels like if I stole one item, one thing, it would be like slapping God in the face. It would be like slapping God in the face. I have delivered you. So I take it personal. My relationship with God is I don't steal. I don't lie. I do the best I can, honey. But I ain't no thief. I might have called myself a booster at one time. I might have called myself a whole kind of stuff. It's just something I did. I don't even know if I'm a writer. If you use the word author, that means you've authored something. You've written something. So that don't go away. So I've written 5 books. That makes me an author. That doesn't go away. But I'm not writing now, am I? I mean, I wish I was, but I'm not. It's something I've done. These people off here, these young ones especially, they want to say I'm a clutter and a hoard. I consider myself a brilliant designer. Something I used to love when I was a child. I still love it. It's just part of who I am. It's just something I did. Something I do. I like it. Hi there, Nikki. Okay. Okay, let me see. Kisses. Yeah, we've done things, especially these men, honey. They hit the streets. I think sometimes married men, people who marry young and stuff like that and got responsibilities, they tend to act a little better because they have responsibilities. But when you are a single man out in the world by yourself, no responsibilities at all, there's not that much to hold you. That's why so many single men get in trouble with all this doping stuff. And these women chasing doing all this stuff, all these vices. So I think some people are better off because they have responsibilities. Thank you, Donette. It's the truth. You as well, I'm sure. Ooh, I went on here an hour. Lord have mercy. My reading was better than it usually is. Usually I was all still and messed up, but since that boy was just chopping it up like that, I mean, mocking it. Oh, this piece of shit, but I'm gonna burn it when I get through with it. I said, girl, can I at least get my message through? Can we read it without the jokes? Some of these people are going to find themselves in a whole lot of situations. Whole lot. Going in blind, in denial. Zero talent. That's a nice name for him. He's an idiot. That boy's a fool. He wants to act like he's somebody. Girl, I just don't see that child as a nurse. I can't see it. I can't make myself see it, honey. I would have to see the diploma and him in uniform in a hospital with white people. Now, show me you're a nurse. Don't get your aunts and uncles to put on suits. Zero nutritions? Is that zero nutritions? He should have just called himself zero. I who have nothing, honey. ZT or QB, both of them. I ain't talking about them. Honey, this damn thing is a struggle to be relevant, to have content. So they decided to choose me. I believe that fire monster sicked that boy over here to read my book because I have no tie to him. There's no reason why he would just come out of the blue and just decide to attack me based on my own writing. She said yesterday, oh, I ain't got to tell him to do nothing. We are one. We work together. You gonna get some work, bitch. I'm trying to be nice. I better leave her name out of my mouth. I don't want to lose your love. Don't want to lose your love. Who was that? Day has come. Was that the Emotions? I don't want to lose. And let's sing a song. Help my throat. You're wondering if I care about you. Is there some cause that I should doubt you? Oh, I can see, boy, that you don't know me very well. You're so unsure, so you run here and there to ask my feelings. My friends only guess. They can't say really. Am I messing it up? Oh. Don't ask my neighbors. Hey, never ask the friends I hang around. Don't be afraid to come to me. Come on. Don't ask my neighbors. Woo, woo, woo. I love that song, honey. What was that song at? 1977? Was it 80? I don't think it was 80. I think it was 79 or 78. Emotions. Gorgeous. It's the same time that Minor Ross come talking about she's the boss. Love taught me. I didn't like this disco era, but it was cute. She also said, it's my house and I live it. There's a welcome mat at the door. And if you come on in, you're going to get much more. There's my chair. I put it there. Everything you see is with loving care. Woo. It's my house. Oh, we evolve, right? You got to live into it though, baby. You got to just stay alive. You could be retired. Oh, they call me all kind of welfare mothers, everything else. All you got to do is cross the finish line, people. Cross the finish line. You can get everything you think I'm so unfairly getting. You can get the same shit, but you got to stay alive to do it. Staying alive. Staying alive. Hey. What else came out of disco? You know what song I like out of disco? It's not even a dance song, but they played it in the bar every night before closing. I told you I lived in the bars and the clubs. Bars in the week, clubs in the weekend, right? You would all wait for the lights to slowly come up. Last dance, last chance for love. Yes, it's my last chance for romance tonight. I need you by me, beside me, to guide me and to hold me, scold me. Cause when I'm bad, I'm so bad. So come on, baby, hey, dance that dance. All the queens will start looking. Y'all don't know, but I'm talking about gay clubs, right? So usually they go there. The whole idea is to meet somebody in the club, right? So when they play that song, everybody stop drinking and start looking, honey, because this is the last chance. So they got to spot somebody for the bar closed. So now the lights are all the way on, and they look like hungry wolves. But not me, of course. Don't want to lose your love. Never ever. Oh, you can't. Too bad you can't sing it for me. I've never heard of never ever. Never ever. I don't know it. I don't know it, Scooter. I don't know it, Scooter High. Right. I mean, I don't give a damn what these people think. I didn't write it, for YouTubers. There wasn't no damn YouTube. What do you know? It was no YouTube, period. I don't believe you that time. People were using other things. But it's a low life that goes digging into stuff like that. It's just some things you just don't do, honey. Y'all going through all these celebrities all through their books and talk about their childhood, and their mamas and their daddies and who their daddy is and all that. Then they always go on talking about, oh, you're your daddy. What is the percentage of black people who are raised with a single parent? What is the percentage, people? But they all come on here. Oh, I don't know. My daddy was good. But you just said your daddy was a crackhead. How in the hell can a crackhead be good? You can't be good. I'm not saying that the man is not good. The man can be great when he gets off crack. But as long as he's on crack, he ain't good, honey. It's all about getting high. That's it. So you can hide, cover up your stories if you want to, sugarcoat them if you want to. But I know what a drug addict is. I hope that boy's father is clean. I mean, it'd be great. That's your father. The crackhead is not your father. It's something you're doing. ZT is like Herbie. You think there's gonna be a bad outbreak, Lord? I guess I could have went on in his thing, but I don't like yelling, screaming every day. I could. He was being very disrespectful. Kept saying, "Oh, I'm not choosing side. I'm not trying to come for Uncle Tim." Oh, but I would never talk to somebody like that. Oh, you dug on a dumpster. Oh, you dug on a dump. Girl, you in Houston now. It's a big city. Start looking around, observing things, fool. Observing. What's that guy over there doing? Oh, that's what they mean by dumpster diving? Oh, that guy is high? Girl, you make it to your age and you ain't figured that shit out yet. Low-hanging fruit. Yeah, you go over there when you want just feel like reading somebody. If you want to just go over there and just blow ZT out the water for fun so you can laugh. Low-hanging fruit, honey. A low-hanging person. A low-bottom gay. The thing he don't understand is when I stopped doing drugs, I went back to being Timothy. Me. This is me right here. What are you going to go back to? Timothy, my dope fiend function better than you do. Buying trade. 20-something years old. Looking a mess. And that face. Ooh, she had that face. Girl. I know your husband has to resist slapping your ass on a daily basis. Well, thank you. Thank you, Luna Simmons, Mrs. Simmons. Thank you, honey. I appreciate you. Honey, write it down. It's your story. Write your whole. If you want to write a memoir, write your real story. Don't lie. Don't embellish. Now, if I was famous, it would be called an autobiography, right? Because then it'd be a big book. Because you're telling your whole story in detail. I didn't do that. This is just a memoir. Things that you remember. I mean, I don't think you almost have to be famous to do an autobiography. But people have written biographies on their families, the whole damn families, the whole history of their families. Not an autobiography, but a biography. I think it's a great idea. You got a big family. A lot of ladies, you have big families and things. You want to write, go talk to your grandmother and your great grandmother and start writing things down, because that's a history for your family. They go on forever. Your family can use that forever. Tells the story of all your aunts, all your uncles, right? It's a great thing. That's a great idea. Should I do that? Well, my uncles and stuff are all dead now. I mean, there's only a couple of them left. But that's a great thing for a family. My family, they did a website, and they did one of those ancestry.com things. Then all the family members would come and post pictures on the family website. It was great. I knew some of things that I never knew. I know my ancestor, the slave woman. The slave woman's name was Old Hannah. That's how far they can go back with those ancestry things. Now, I don't know if they can go into Africa or not, because we were still a people before we arrived here. So maybe there's a way to go and find your African heritage by DNA or something. I don't know. But we went back as far as when we came here to the slave woman Hannah, Old Hannah. They didn't even give the lady a name. No birth certificates, nothing like that. Yes, get it, Trinity Love. It's not a big book. You can read it in a day. Yeah, who is that always puts the link in there? Just go to Amazon, put in Timothy Blaine. It has all my books. All 5 of them. 4 of them are fiction. That one is memoir. So now that boy, it's probably even send me some sales, but it's not about everything is not about money, honey. I had to go in there again and clean up the last video I made. What was it? 17 minutes. Charlie had 5. They had 5 commercials in a 17-minute video. I had to go clean it up again. So I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but it looks like to me they've taken out the option to easily remove the commercials, and they've started putting in a lot more commercials than they were. That's the thing. They've just doubled or tripled the commercials. But we still have the option. It's pretty easy if anybody needs to know. I mean, I figured it out yesterday. But I had to go and do it again today. So I guess we're going to have to manually do that, or remember to do that. So if you can see in a lot of commercials, let me know. I ain't trying to get rich over here. I hate them damn commercials. That's why when I watch television, I channel surf. Because I can't sit through all them damn commercials. Y'all know it's like 40% of them commercials, right? But that's how they pay their bills. Thank you for the free promotion. In my words, I mean, he just went in. It's so snarky, though. I mean, he went in there, kept calling it trash, kept saying he's going to burn it and all this kind of stuff. I know that I did a good book there. I don't know who do you think he's hurting, but he did just the nasty way that he did it. See, if he would just read passages from the book, or even the way he did it, going to say, ooh, 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 I would have been fine with that. But that was not their intention. The 5 Monster did the same thing to James Caldwell a couple months ago. She made a 12-part series. They thrive on that kind of stuff, child. That was 12. That was 12. That would be content for 12 days. Don't even care about what the effect they have on people. They're monsters. That's why I call them monsters. The book is Meth Monster, but now I've been calling all these other bitches monsters too. Because that's what they are. Another thing I found it so annoying about that damn 5 Monster is we signed this damn non-disclosure agreement that we wouldn't talk about the thing. And so far, I mean, for what's been going on, a year now, nobody's really been talking about it. But except when she got her ass in there. Because she got to be famous. Are you on the show? Oh, the show said this. Oh, the show said that. Hey, girl, you're going to dig your own grave. They're going to say you are a burden, honey. We need to get rid of anybody. We need to get rid of your ass. Why'd you sign the goddamn thing that you were not going to talk about it? You can talk about it every day. I'm going to be a millionaire. Stupid ass person. Okay, first 1 minute you're saying that the whole budget for the whole thing is $60,000. Yeah, you're going to be a millionaire. Whatever. Oh, thank you, Claudia. Yeah, my ruffles my feathers got ruffled a little bit yesterday. But I'm an excitable kind of guy. I don't like to disrespect. I mean, you gonna hear? I'm in my 60s. I mean, my mother would be, an 87-year-old woman. Why are you disrespecting her? Have I ever even mentioned her? And then you want everybody to respect you. That's why they don't respect you. That's why they are in there calling your mama all kind of whores and bitches and all this horrible shit. It's because you don't have no respect for them. They don't respect you. If you were a respectful person, I wouldn't just pick a person out here and start talking about their mother, their parents. It's so disrespectful. She was never taught that. So perhaps if she was raised in that kind of household with that kind of a woman at the helm, perhaps she didn't learn any manners, any principle. And she did sit that boy over here on me. He named his video inmate 5 whatever 7779311 whatever. He got that from her. And she did the same damn thing to James 2 months earlier. So they don't even tell the truth. You look them right in their face. I can't stand a bitch that just sit right in your mouth and lie to you right in your face. No character, none. Yeah, it's free press. People like, if they feel like there's some dirt in there, they'll go in there and dig through it. I don't really give a damn. I ain't never put on no airs, honey. I'll say exactly who I am. God is a deliverer. That's it, Angie. It comes right down to that, honey. I long for those days when I was screaming, running around the church. Oh, I used to get happy, honey. When I realized that I didn't have to do dope anymore, and this spiritual thing had worked for me, I would scream and holler and fall out on the floor and all that. I long for those days. I was connected. That's what it is. That's why I go to church. I just want to feel close to him. Again. But he's the faithful God, honey. He don't go nowhere. God said, I would never forsake you. What they talk about, Willis? Ooh, Bonnie Vaughn 45. Oh, I'm missing you. Tell me where the road turns. I don't know if you was telling a song or just saying it to a person. First thing you got to do, though, if you're going to get clean, you got to admit you got a problem. I have never seen QB not on drugs. He said, oh, it's just weed. Girl, I mean, it's just weed. Honey, in the liquor store, that has been legal for years and years and years, right? They tried prohibition, it didn't work. But is alcohol not still a damaging drug to alcoholics? And still, I mean, you're still drunk, right? Whether it's legal, you're drunk, or you illegal, you're drunk. You're drunk, right? So it's because marijuana has been decriminalized for all these tax reasons. That don't mean that it's not a drug. That don't mean you can't be hooked on it, just like you can be hooked on alcohol and it's legal. Being high, I've lost more jobs back when I was in my working life. I lost more work, but they told me, no, it's not going to work, honey. Smoking weed than anything else. Of course, when I was doing hard drugs, I wasn't in the work world. But smoking weed caused me all kind of problems. I'd be working in Century City. I remember I had this job parking cars in Century City. All of they had all. Let me see who they had in there. Big celebrities and stuff in Century City. It used to be 20th Century Fox. But on the back lot, I built a whole town right next to Beverly Hills, right? And I parked the cars there. But every time on lunch, I was smoking weed so much then. When I would go on lunch, I would start smoking weed, and many times I wouldn't make it back. Until at one point, the lady had to come to the door. No, 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 no. No, it's the last time, buddy. Yeah, because you high on weed, hell, who gonna talk to somebody who's high on anything? It's just weed. It's just alcohol. It's just beer. I was an alcoholic. All I ever drank was beer, honey. I very rarely drink any alcohol. I drank either a screwdriver or beer. That's it. I ended up in Alcoholics Anonymous at 25 years old. Asteroid Kid. Shit, even Obama experimented with drugs in his younger days. Malcolm X was a pimp and a heroin addict. That's a good point. Malcolm X sure was in his younger days. We all have a past. That's right. Thank you for that, Asteroid. There have been people who have been famous. Of course, we don't know about most of the politicians because they ain't going to tell us everything. Obama admitted they smoked a little weed, but they don't tell us everything, honey. And then also, not everybody becomes a drug addict because they do drugs. They try drugs, whatever. There are people who go to parties now and smoke weed. They don't get all strung out on the goddamn shit or be like QB where you got to have it every single minute of every single day. I bet he skipped a lot of groceries to supply that weed. Fish fry. What is that? Fry fish. Got her non-working AC unit out of the dumpster. She needs to go dumpster diving. Dumpster diving. They make everything so nasty, honey. When you go out, this desk, I wish I could show you my desk. Let me show you. Now, they talk about dumpster diving, right? I have never dumpster dived anything since I've been clean. One item I've gotten from the dumpster. I mean, I've gotten from outside from the trash. A neighbor of my next door neighbor here, because here people put furniture out all the time, right? But usually it's modern furniture, stuff that I don't, okay, that mouth. Stuff that I don't care about. I like old stuff, right? But look at this. Can you see? Oh, shit, I unplugged it. Okay, can you see? See this desk? It's curved. It fits right into this alcove in my window, right? See the desk? Okay. So that desk, I got it from the dumpster. Or I got it from outside. It was put out somewhere. Look, it's good old wood, solid as a rock. Solid as a rock. So people say anything, honey. I ain't thinking about the fucking assholes. That's the kind of dumpster I did. I never looked in trash for food, dumbass. That's what I did. But unfortunately, I had to move from hotel to hotel, so nothing had much value because I just gonna have to give it up and go back to jail. But I don't live that way no more. I don't know what's wrong with these punks keep saying I'm a hoarder, though. What is up with that? It's pictures on the wall. There's a bed. A bedroom is 90% of it is the bed. I got a TV in front of the bed. Don't everybody got a TV in front of the bed? Oh, but you got a statue. That makes me a hoarder. I'm a decorator. That's what I do. If I get any extra work, that's what I'll be doing. Decorating, buying stuff for people, collecting. I don't know what you see, people. And then the ones who are always saying that I'm a hoarder and dumpster diver and all this shit, I look into their backgrounds. ZT is a 40-year-old man hanging posters on the wall. I've never even seen a 40-year-old man hanging posters on his wall. Isn't that what 16-year-old, 17-year-old kids? Isn't that what they do? Hang posters on the wall? I mean, what is the poster cost? $5.99? So why you got so much to say about somebody else's home? It looks great to me. I like it. At least it shows that I put some time in it. You putting tacks on the damn wall with posters? It's trying fucking with some of these people on here. Everybody, but Andrew Caldwell. What you say about Andrew Caldwell? How's he doing? Is he in any fights this week? I think I got to lay off this Benadryl. I take Benadryl to go to sleep at night, but it makes you're dry in your mouth, and it also makes you groggy the next day. So I don't hardly get going to the. Okay. Keep on saying it. I'm proud, honey. That changed my. I mean, when I became to faith, it changed my world, my whole worldview. It's such a pleasure to walk through stores and don't have to worry about if somebody's watching you. Girl. Yes, my book is on audiobook. That's where the numbers came from, because at first I was sitting around, I think some close to 2,000 books that I sold all together over 12 years. But when I made it the audiobook, that was 2 years ago. That book has sold, I think it's 3,600 copies. Because audio, they do some kind of special deals or something where you sign up, you pick several books. But I was making money this whole year. But yeah, so the audiobook is it's not my voice. I didn't have that much confidence in my own reading. So it's a white guy reading the book. But since I saw, well, it's about drugs, about serious. I mean, it's really about for drug addicts, right? So maybe it'll reach a better audience if it's somebody different than me, whatever. So it didn't have to necessarily be my voice. But yeah, that's in the cellar. It's calmed down now. I think for about 6 months, though, I was getting a nice check from them. Over 3,000 copies in audiobooks. So I wish I could get my other books on audiobook. It's hard to push fiction, though. I don't know how to do it. That was my downside. Some people have told me they read my books on here. You know, I got some great reviews from that Epiphany. That was my baby. So it's story time. Pulls up a chair. Lord, no, I didn't read story time. I didn't sing. I didn't did everything. Nope. Push that chair back, Miss Jackson. Yeah, I know you guys love me. You guys are great. Even all of their subscribers. I mean, everybody. You go on there, they always saying nasty things about you, right? But those are their supporters. So we all have supporters, you know. So I don't know why I even look at it or why I even react to it. So I guess I'm still sort of reactionary. Because why even look at somebody like ZT? What the fuck is that? Why look at even that QB? I don't think I've ever seen a real video of QB. All the time I ever spoke about him or said his name was when the police came in there and arrested his ass. It was a trending story. He got such pleasure. He got so excited when I tell things about myself, about my gentle nature, about how I was functioning in a world where I really didn't belong. Oh, you were scared? You were scared? Oh, you don't want to fight nobody? You don't want to hit nobody? Girl, that ain't nothing to be proud of. I'm glad I'm not a savage. That's the problem with your damn town. Everybody wants to kill everybody. That ain't nothing I'm ashamed of, nigga. But he got such a thrill out of that. What did he say? What did he say? He said he never wanted to hit anybody. Yes, right. That's why I broke up with my lovers, both of them. It was because of Billy Jackson, my wicked stepfather, who abused my mother right in my little tiny eyes. And I say, I will never be a motherfucker like that. And so the first time I put my hands on anybody, our relationship was over. The first lover, first fight, after he done poisoned me with LSD, I was out of there. I'm not getting in no relationship that's going to be physical. My second lover, who I really did love, our issue was he had a little bit of the gypsy feet, or he still want to mess around with people. But the other thing is we were drinking, and when I hit him, didn't even know it till the next day because he had a bruise on him and down on his face, but I punched him. I was out of there. So that nigga, that motherfucker who was with my mother, he damaged my whole life. Right? Because I could not have a relationship because the moment I put my hands on anybody, I was out of there. It was so much easier for me to live alone than to be in any kind of abuse. Somebody hitting me or me hitting somebody. Now, QB, that brings up another subject. Isn't it been circulated that your husband used to beat you? Is it true or no? But why would you bring all this smoke on you? I ain't got no reason to say that. You bring it on yourself. Did your man beat you? You think that's good? Are you one of those who like it? I will never be ashamed that I'm a gentle person. Now I will protect myself. You put your hands on me, I'm just like anybody else, honey. Don't put your goddamn hands on me. That's for sure. That's been tested several times. So I wouldn't say I was a total dweeb. Yeah, you can catch it in the replay there, Lisa. I just wanted to read at least the last chapter before he started butchering it, you know. Suki Payton. Hey, Timothy Blaine. Read your book, Meth Monster, last year. I enjoyed it so much and read it twice. Oh, that's nice. Now I have 4 of your books. Oh, great. Yeah, please consider reviewing them. If you like them, you ain't got to put no whole, you ain't got to write no pages. But just give it a thumbs up or something on Amazon. That helps me. Yeah, it's so frustrating because I know that I can write. And Meth Monster was my very first book. I had never written anything. I'd never even written more than a letter. And it's still, holding its own. So I would love to be writing. I should be writing. But, like the Bible say, there's a time for everything. A time to write and a time to be on YouTube. Elaine Berry, I have your book and have read it in its entirety. It was okay, thank you. Look at that. I know a lot of you guys have read it. I've seen the numbers go up. The numbers didn't go up until I got on YouTube. So thank you, guys. Thank you for your support. You just bought it? Now look at here, all this talk about this damn book. And see, that's what you wasn't counting on. What's his name? QB. Tell your name. Fuck is a QB. But that's the Q monster. Actually, I stole the name. I stole Meth Monster from crackheads because they used to call people crack monsters. She's a crack monster, right? I put it on meth. But now there are several books called Meth Monster. You know what meth monsters are? There's an actual thing that is called a meth monster. When you do crystal meth, if you're up for many days, and most people, they do it for at least 3 days, but sometimes they just keep on doing it and they don't go to sleep. And so at some point they become psychotic, and the trees become men, like giant men. Things take shapes because they're psychotic. And that's what a meth monster is. When you start seeing monsters all around you, what you need to do, have a glass of milk and take your ass to sleep. That's hard to do when you're wired up on that particular drug. But that's where the name comes from. But now recently, I'm starting to call all these creatures on here monsters. If you act like a monster, that's what I'm going to call you. Damn, T-Can? Tilcan? I bought the books months ago. Loved it. You bought more than one? Great. I always think people are not reading my my novels. I love writing that series out. Sometimes authors don't become famous. I mean, they don't get read until after they're dead. So please consider reading the book before I'm dead. Someone will discover them all of a sudden, Ooh, I'm way over. I got an hour and a half. All right, people. They're probably going to demonetize my ass. Every time I did any time on here, I end up getting demonetized for whatever reason. But thanks for coming in. I hope you guys enjoyed my stilted reading of my book. Y'all like this thing? It's cute. I had another one. It went dead. See, I had this Kindle, and I used to read books at night because you have the reader on there, and it just started making wiggly lines. I guess it's dead. And then I got this one yesterday. So it's a little bit bigger, and they got things on there where you can watch movies and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, they're only like $100, so they're a lot less than a tablet. In fact, the small one, I think you can get it on sale for $39, something like that. They're well worth it. So I'm hoping that'll inspire me to start reading again. Reading when you go to bed, you're not really reading because you're just listening to it. I listen to it until you fall asleep. So after you fall asleep, the thing keeps on reading. You don't even know where you're at necessarily. But I rarely make it past a page or two. So you need to be up and reading, alive. That used to be my thing when I went to the gym. I would always listen to books, audiobooks. So I love audiobooks. All right, guys, I done ran my mouth enough. It's an hour and a half. Thanks for coming in. Watch out for those monsters out there.